Welcome everyone to the debut episode of Oathbreaker Offering. I'm your host, VT. Now you probably have a few questions here like, why Oathbreaker? Where's my Commander Challenge episode? And also, why so late in the week? Well, for the lateness portion, I do apologize. It's been really rough between running the tournament that just wrapped up last week and with the fact that I've been making several trips to the hospital with a little bit of pain going on in my left leg, and having to do a bunch of blood tests and having to wear this really annoying blood pressure monitor, which I got to tell you, it's probably the most annoying thing in the world, having to wear that and pretty much having no use of your left arm for the balance of a day or two. So do apologize for this being so late, but hey, better late than never, right? Thanks for being patient, everybody. And as for the why Oathbreaker and where's Commander Challenge? Well, Commander Challenge is not going anywhere. It will still continue on, and you'll probably see an episode later this week. And it'll continue with one episode every week going forward. It's just the Oathbreaker series was always something that was supposed to happen. So finally, here we are at just that. And we're hoping to do, if possible, minimum to maximum 1 to 2 episodes every single month. But it'll depend on your feedback, the views, the likes, and also the comments you leave us, because some people might be like, BT, I'm not really into Oathbreaker. I mean, it might end up being a dead format, like Brawl is dying, and other ones that have already died before it, like Frontier or Tiny Leaders, for example. So let us know in the comments if you enjoy the episodes of Oathbreaker that we do, and if you'd like to see the series continue on. We intend to do minimum at least 3 to 6 episodes, and then gauged on your comments and what you let us know about them, we'll let you know if it's going to continue to be a regular series like Commander Challenge, or if it's just a short-term project. By the way, stay tuned to the end of the episode. I'll let you guys know who will be eligible for our latest giveaway, with the crowning of our first champion now been done, that of course being Greg. Without any further ado, let's get to the opening hands of our 3 players. My Oathbreaker is Jace Beleren, and my signature spell is Traumatize. My opening hand consists of an island, Worn Power Stone, Grindstone, Memory Erosion, Bribery, Arcane Denial, and Psychic Spiral. The mad scientist Francis is playing Chandra Pyromaster as his Oathbreaker, and his signature spell is Seething Song. His opening hand consists of 2 mountains, Poetic Ritual, Desperate Ritual, Geosurge, Shatter, and Tyrant's Familiar. Finally, Mr. Jimmy is playing Vivien Reid as his Oathbreaker, with his signature spell being Constant Mists. His opening hand consists of 3 forests, Gamekeeper, Seedborn Muse, Sakura Tribe Elder, and Timberwatch Elf. Francis won the dice roll to start us off, so let's begin. Let's break the oath down. For our first turns, Francis plays Hanweir Battlements, Jimmy plays a forest, and I play an island and cast Grindstone. Francis plays a mountain and casts Desperate Ritual to cast Dragon Horde and passes. Jimmy plays a forest and casts Steve, passing. I play an island and pass. Francis plays a mountain and casts Chandra. And while Jimmy sacks his Elder to grab a basic land, I counter the Planeswalker with Arcane Denial, and Francis passes. During Jimmy's upkeep, Francis and I get some bonus draws as a result. Jimmy then plays a basic and casts Thran Dynamo, passing. During my turn, I cast Brainstorm in an effort to get some land. Then I cast Serum Visions, scrying 1 card to the top and the other to the bottom after drawing a card. Then I play a basic and pass. Francis plays a basic and casts Geosurge, getting a ton of red mana. and uses it to cast Tyrant's Familiar, but forgets to place a counter on his horde. He then makes use of its haste to attack me. I take the hit, and Francis passes. Jimmy plays Myriad Landscape tapped, and casts the lovely Seedborn Muse, followed by a Moss Diamond, before passing. Jimmy gets to untap thanks to Seedborn during my turn. I play a basic, and feeling unsafe, I cast Ensnaring Bridge, and pass with 5 cards in my hand. Francis laughs at me for playing an artifact against a red deck, and casts Shatter, blowing up my bridge. Then he attacks Jimmy with his Tyrant. Jimmy takes the hit, but sacks his Landscape to grab 2 basics into play tap before Francis passes. Jimmy starts his turn by casting his Oathbreaker, Vivien Reid. He then upticks her to check his top 4, adding a Wood Elves to his hand, which he casts immediately, grabbing a forest into play. Then he casts Timberwatch Elf, and he moves into combat and attacks Francis with his Seedborn before passing. Jimmy untaps on my turn again. I play a basic and cast Bribery on Jimmy. This allows me to grab his Primordial Sage into play and pass. Francis casts Poetic Ritual, gaining 3 mana, so that in all, he has enough mana to recast his Chandra. He uses her 0 ability to exile the top card of his deck, which turns out to be a basic, which he plays as land for the turn. Then we had to confirm that the Oathbreaker itself counts as a commander for lieutenant effects. Francis attacks Jimmy with his Tyrant, and with its trigger, he uses it to kill Jimmy's Seedborn Muse. Jimmy stops the combat damage, however, by using his signature spell, Constant Mists, and sacks a land to use its buyback effect. Then Francis passes. Jimmy starts his turn by casting Alana Huntsmaster, followed by Gamekeeper, making use of his Huntsmaster's trigger to make a 1/1 elf token. He then uses Vivien's -3 effect to destroy the Tyrant's Familiar. Next he moves into combat and attacks Chandra with his Wood Elves, boosting its power to being a 5/5 by tapping his Timberwatch Elf. After it's destroyed, he passes to me. For my turn, I cast Weight of Memory, drawing 3 cards and having Jimmy mill 3 cards to his graveyard. I then play a basic and pass. Francis plays a basic and gets crazy revenge on Jimmy for destroying his Tyrant's Familiar. How does he do that, you may ask? By casting Wake of Destruction. He used it to destroy all of Jimmy's forests. I think that might be the most land destruction we've ever seen on this channel. To add to that, I kind of chip in and cast Rapid Hybridization on Jimmy's Timberwatch, replacing it with a 3/3 frog. Then Francis passes. Jimmy plays a Lonely Forest and then uptakes Vivien to check his top 4 cards. He grabs a forest to his hand and then passes. I play Myriad Landscape and pass. Francis casts Earthquake, where X is 6, dealing 6 damage to each player and creature. The board wipe causes Jimmy's Gamekeeper to trigger. He exiles it and reveals cards from his deck until he gets a creature, which turns out to be Viridian Corruptor, which he puts into play. With its ETB, he destroys Francis's Dragon's Horde, and then Francis passes. Jimmy plays a basic and casts Restock, taking Seedborn Muse and Vitalizing Wind from his graveyard back to his hand. He then upticks Vivien again, and from his top 4, adds Well-Wisher to his hand as well. He then moves to combat and attacks Francis with his Corruptor for 2 infect damage, before passing to me. During his end step, I use my Grindstone targeting Jimmy. His first 2 cards turn out to be the same color, so he repeats the process and ends up milling a total of 4 cards. For my turn, I cast Trinket Mage, and with its effect, I add Wayfarer's Bubble to my hand, which I then cast before passing. Francis casts Dragon Speaker Shaman, followed by Hoarding Dragon. He then exiles an artifact from his deck with its effect before passing. Jimmy recasts his Seedborn Muse, and then upticks Vivien again, adding a forest to his hand, which he then plays as his land for turn, before passing. During his end step, I sack my landscape to grab 2 basics into play tapped. Jimmy untaps on my turn, and I cast my Oathbreaker, Jace. I uptick it, allowing each player to draw a card. Then I cast Temporal Manipulation, taking an extra turn. I then pass immediately and move to my extra turn. I play a basic land, and uptick Jace again, and everyone gets another free draw. Then I cast my signature spell, Traumatize, targeting Jimmy, causing him to mill half the cards in his deck to the graveyard. Then I pass. Francis casts another Chandra, the Acolyte of Flame. Then casts Chandra's Regulator. He uses the Acolyte's 0 ability to add loyalty to all of his red planeswalkers and copies its effect with the Regulator. He then taps the Regulator and discards a red card to draw a card, and then plays a basic land. He moves to combat and attacks Vivien with his dragon. Jimmy fongs the damage with his Constant Mists, but doesn't buy it back this time and puts it back into the signature zone. Then Francis passes. Jimmy plays a basic and apologizes, saying he intends to take me out now, and casts Blanchwood Armor. I counter it with a Rewind, untapping 4 lands. Then Jimmy casts Hunting Triad, gaining 3 elf tokens. He then upticks Vivien again, this time adding a random Putrefax to his hand, and passes. Well, somebody likes Infect. During his end step, I used Grindstone on Jimmy as he tried to take me out. He only mills 2 though, as one of his 2 cards is an artifact. For my turn, I uptick Jace again and we all draw a card. I then cast Sensei's Divining Top and pay 1 to check my top 3 cards. Next I tap the top to draw a card and cast the drawn card, Baral, Chief of Compliance, and pass. Francis claims it's his moment of truth now and starts by using Chandra Acolyte's -2 effect, which he then copies with his Regulator, allowing him to cast both Poetic Ritual and Desperate Ritual. And after using that mana, along with 4 more, Francis cast Banefire on me for 9 damage, KOing me in the process. However, before dying, I use my Grindstone on Francis, milling 2 cards from his deck. After he takes me out, he passes to Jimmy. Jimmy plays a basic and upticks Vivien for the last time, adding No Mage Shepherd to his hand, leaving only 4 cards left in his deck. Jimmy then casts Vitalizing Wind, buffing his creatures by +7/+7. Then he moves into combat and waves Francis with all 5 of his creatures. With only 2 blockers, Francis takes lethal damage, and despite having suffered both heavy land destruction and deck destruction, Jimmy gets one of the best wins I have ever seen. I was so close to milling out Jimmy. Maybe next time. For my MVP card, I choose Traumatize, and it's still one of the top 5 mill cards in NTG, and it's even tougher to deal with in Oathbreaker than in EDH. Francis showed some very solid synergy with his Chandra deck, but I still have to give the nod to his Banefire. I did not see that coming, and the fact that it couldn't be prevented and couldn't be countered made sure that I was a sitting duck. Jimmy's Vitalizing Wind is a card that doesn't see play in pretty much any format, especially with cards like Kamal, Fist of Krosa, Craterhoof Behemoth, Triumph of the Hordes, and say Pathbreaker Ibex running around. But today, it was more than enough to turn his 5 little creatures into minimum 8/8 powerhouse beaters. And not to mention, again, not many players can say they got hit with both Traumatize and Wicked Destruction in the same game and still came out victorious. Agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you enjoy our content, consider becoming a patron. You'll gain access to some sweet bonuses while helping out the channel at the same time. By the way, here's a list of family members / subscribers who are entered into our next giveaway based on correctly guessing the EDHCC champion, or just by being a $5 and above patron pledgehammer. I should have the random wheel ready to pick the winner within the next episode or 2 maximum, and next week for sure, I'll have the poll ready to determine what we'll be doing for our future 1v1 episodes, whether we're switching to dual commander or if we're keeping the same format. Thanks everyone! Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you're a fan of EDH gameplay and you like whether it be 1v1 or multiplayer and you want to be part of the ever-growing Commander Challenge family, just make sure you smash the subscribe button and notification bell down below. We do weekly videos. Don't forget as well to like, comment, share our videos, but most importantly, enjoy them. On behalf of all of our members here, I'm your host, BT. Feel free to check out all of the videos in the channel, join our game, it's now your turn. Cheers!